Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for joining in my 2025 review 2026 goal setting workshop, predominantly for my clients. However, I may well share this so that everybody can have a freebie. Um, right, let's get started, will we? Sorry, I'm just going to stick that in the middle so it actually looks like I'm looking at the camera. Right, so anyway. I just want to give you a brief insight as to why I'm doing this and what I would like you to get out of it. So, I want you to remember this is super, 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 super important, all right? Even though I want you to think about what you achieved in 2025 or what you maybe didn't achieve in 2025, I'm not asking you to criticize yourself. I'm not asking you to judge yourself. I'm not asking you to be all negative Nelly towards yourself. If you work with me, if you are one of my clients, whether it be Ladies That Lift, my On Fire group coaching, or the Midlife Reset, I am not a negative Nancy. I do not encourage you to treat yourself as if you were a failure, and I do not beat you with a stick over the head if um, anything doesn't quite go to plan. It is merely about taking the situation that possibly didn't quite go to plan and reviewing what we can change and what things we can work towards to make sure that those feelings don't come from that situation again. All right. I am very much about honesty and awareness and positivity. All right. So, I want you to think about a lot of these questions are relevant to 2026, but I want you to think about if you set anything similar for 2025 and whether you achieved it or whether you didn't. Remember, if you didn't achieve it, I have done a podcast on this, by the way. My last episode of my podcast, which I think was episode 78, it was maybe 77, 78 or something, I can't quite remember. Anyway, it's called goal setting, right? And it's not about, like I said, it's not about beating yourself up. There are so many reasons why we don't manage to complete our goals. It could have been the wrong goal, it could have been the wrong time frame, could have been the wrong time. There's just so many reasons because life changes and it just gets in the way sometimes. All right. So think about what you're proud of. Think about the lessons that you've learned. This is also one of the questions on the sheet that we're going to fill in. All right. And then I want you to think about what you want to work on and what you want to work towards for 2026 and beyond. There is a little bit about a bucket list as well. All right. So no pressure, no unrealistic expectations. Most of us fail or do not manage to complete our goals because it was either the wrong goal, it was too big a goal, or the time frame was wrong. So the goal was maybe right, but we didn't give ourselves long enough to get there. All right. So it's about being realistic and it's about doing this with intention. Now, I do want you to fill your form in while I am chatting through each of the questions because when you've finished and you hit the submit button, it will email it back to you. So you'll get to keep it, obviously. Right. And it's a very good idea to go back at some point and maybe give it a wee tweak or add some things in or amend some of the things. But what I don't want you to do is listen to this, think about stuff for 3 weeks, and then try and fill the form in because thinking about stuff for 3 weeks is not necessarily like planning is not progress. Don't get those two things confused, right? We can plan to the nth degree, but if you don't take action, nothing's ever going to happen. So it's a fine balance, right? And quite often, if you think about the word association game, whatever it's called, can't actually remember the name of it, but quite often our gut feeling and the first thing that we think of is exactly the thing that we should be working towards. So I want you to fill this in while we're working together, all right? I also, for my clients, I have given them a Zoom call. So for my midlife reset and my on fire group coaching, we're having a Zoom call to go through this, right? That is providing you actually want me to look at these and chat to you about it. If you want to keep these goals personal to you and you don't want to show anybody, that's totally cool. We can just have a random chat about anything else that's bothering you or that you want help with on our Zoom call. All right. So I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. And if you want to keep them for yourself, that's totally cool. All right. So have a think about it while we're chatting. I'm going to go through all the questions, give you some top tips. I'll share some of my goals with you as well, if you will find that helpful. Um, And remember, progress comes from being honest, all right? It doesn't come from being perfect. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you, which I've just actually learnt to do, by the way. It's very exciting, isn't it? So that should be up now. You can see the form? Yes. Yay! Right, so 2025 review and 2026 goal setting. The first question is obviously your email. That means you will get emailed a copy of everything that you have filled in so that you can keep it, right? What I would maybe suggest you do, and yes, I have stole this from somebody else. I've actually stolen most of this from another goal setting workshop that I was on, and I've picked the best bits for my lovely clients and followers. Yes, I know you are welcome. So pop your email address in there, all right, and it'll resend it back to you. But what I would suggest is that email that comes back to you, I would suggest that you maybe schedule that email to send it to yourself again in 6 months' time. And then by 6 months, you'll be like, oh yeah, shit, haven't done that. Or, oh yeah, I'm totally on track for that, right? So it's a good idea. Right, so I want you to think about, this is for 2025, the 3 best things that happened this year to you. So think about 3 things that have happened to you this year that are absolutely amazing. And I don't necessarily mean happened as in just accidentally happened, like, I don't know, maybe you won the lottery without putting any effort in. I want you to think about the things that you've actually worked towards and that you've achieved, or just things that have actually happened to you, right? So anything to do with your personal life, anything to do with your health, anything to do with your work. Yeah. So for example, one of the things that happened to me this year, and I did put effort into this, is that I scaled back my coaching. So I scaled down the people, scaled down the groups of people that I coach, right? So that everybody that I coach now is a midlife woman. And that didn't accidentally happen. I shed a fair bit of tears over that, to be fair, and it was fairly difficult, but it was way, way the best thing that happened this year. It was so the right decision to make. All right. So have a think about that. 3 best things that happened to you. And again, like I said, it can be to do with anything. It can be personal, it could be health, it could be fitness, it could be diet, it could be nutrition, it could be your work, it could be your family life, anything that is relevant to you. We want to think about and remember the positive things that happen to us. Yeah. 3 lessons you have learned this year. This is also relevant to 2025. So one of the biggest lessons I learned this year was that I can do way more than I think I can. And I found this out by growing a pair of balls, I suppose, and setting some goals. Now, a lot of those goals included boundaries, right? But if you think, chances are when you set your goals, you set them too small because we get the fear and we narrow our world. Not intentionally, it's just usually due to lack of confidence or overthinking or both. So have a think about the 3 lessons that you have learned this year, right? So I've just said to you, one of my biggest things that happened to me last year was narrowing down my client base so that I only coach midlife women, right? Now, with hindsight, I probably could have narrowed that down and then set some goals to bring in more clients. But I felt like my brain was going to explode and I totally overthought it. That's the honest truth. All right. So have a think about that. And again, this is not with guilt. We just want to think about the good things and the lessons. And the lessons that you've learned are things, again, like I said, it's not about guilt. It's about thinking about what you can change or what you can build your confidence with going into 2026. All right. Right, this is about fears. Now, there is a lot of stuff about fear, right? Now, most of our goals, if we've missed a goal or not managed a goal, a lot of it is to do with fear. It's to do with overthinking. It's to do with lack of confidence, lack of self-belief, and just fear. Do you know, you're just scared. And it's okay to be scared. Absolutely. I spend most of my life scared that, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I think you can just overthink far too much, especially as midlife women. So, what is your biggest health fear? Now, this is a way to set your goals as well. So think about What is your biggest fear regarding health? Right now, my biggest fear regarding health is that I lose my mobility. So I lose like my range of motion across all my CrossFit movements, across my daily life gets less and less and less. Right now, bearing in mind, I deal with a lot of people, midlife women and CrossFitters, and just general people that message me on the socials and stuff, all right, that have mobility issues. So their range of motion is less, like, so they can't squat to depth. They struggle to get on the toilet. They walk down the stairs one at a time because they don't have the mobility and the range of motion or the strength in their muscles and their bones, right? So all of that absolutely frightens the shit out of me. The thought of not being able to move, the thought of not being able to train at CrossFit, not being able to give demonstrations to my clients, not being able to walk my dog, that genuinely puts the fear of God into me, all right? So that would get me a goal, right? So what I don't want to happen is I realise that my range of motion, etc., and my strength is going to lessen as I get older, right? I'm obviously not that naive. It does happen, but we're going to keep it. I'm going to fight that for as long as I can. So the way to fight that is to start now. So it's to do my mobility, to do my yoga, to keep moving, to keep lifting weights, to lift heavier weights. That is the only way that I am going to keep my mobility, hence independence, for as long as I can. All right, so that is my example of that. So I want you to think about that. What is your biggest fear? What do you want to avoid? I want to avoid lack of mobility, which to me means lack of independence. And what do I need to change or keep doing to avoid this? So I need to keep moving. I need to keep walking. I need to keep doing my daily steps, keep doing my CrossFit. What do I need to change? I probably need to do more yoga. So that's my two health goals for 2026. I'm going to get stronger by doing my progressively overload, lifting heavier weights, and I'm going to do more yoga. Yeah, understand? Excellent. So, fitness and strength, your biggest fear, what do you want to avoid, and what do you need to change or keep doing to avoid this? So, pretty much the same as health, but fitness and strength. All right. Now, it just so happens that my fitness and strength and my health are pretty much interlinked. So I've already said what my fitness goals, but if I was being more specific with my fitness and strength goals, all right, I set, and I covered this in the podcast that I did, I set actual strength goals, right? So I wanted to increase my deadlift, I wanted to increase my back squat and my front squat and the weight that I can get above my head and my barbell. Right now, I didn't get any of those because I lost weight. So my body mass got less, therefore my strength was not going to get more. All right. So I want to get back to where I was. So I think my deadlift was 107 kilos and it's dropped down to about 95. So I want to get back to the 107. I want to get back to being as strong as I was before I lost body weight. Yeah. So think about that as well. Again, what is your biggest fear? What do you want to avoid? What is your worst case scenario? And what do you need to change or keep doing to avoid this, right? And the thing with fitness and strength is that if you're not constantly moving forwards, you're going to go backwards. Very rarely in the world of fitness and strength will we stay the same. Very, very rarely. Now, you can have a goal to stay the same, but if you're not progressively overloading, so if you're not lifting heavier weights, if you're not practicing the movement, just say, for example, it's pull-ups. So just say I can do 3 pull-ups. I want to get to 5 pull-ups. Right now, if I keep the same, I keep doing 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3, right? I'm never going to get any stronger. I'm never going to get to the 5. And chances are, because I'm not going to get any stronger, I'm probably going to go back the way. So at some point, I'll only be able to do 2, or I'll only be able to do 1. So if you're not moving forward with your fitness and your strength and your health, chances are you're not going to stay where you are at the moment. You're actually going to decline slightly. Have a think about that, my lovelies. All right. Happiness. Again, happiness goals, right? These are massively important in my coaching. They're massively important to my clients. They're massively important to me because I want all midlife women to live a well above average life. I don't want you to be ever with any part of your life. Yeah, that'll do. because that means that you're average. I don't want any of you to have an average life. I want you to be absolutely smashing the fuck out of your life, whatever part of your life that is. My biggest fear is that, for happiness anyway, is that I start to not enjoy what I do. That frightens the absolute shit out of me. Yeah, right. Because as much as there's so many of us out there coaching wise, right? There's so many online coaches, so many nutrition coaches, there's so many midlife coaches, there's so many menopausal coaches. There's absolutely like the socials are flooded with them. But a lot of people, in fact, all humans, you do business with people. You don't necessarily do business with the process that that person is selling, right? And I have not reinvented the wheel. The processes that I follow are the same processes that a lot of other coaches follow, but I think I'm super cheery and super positive compared to a lot of other coaches as well. So my biggest fear is that I stop enjoying what I do. So I'm always thinking about new ways. I'm always learning. I'm always putting myself through extra courses. I'm listening to my clients to find out what they want. And that is basically what I am going to continue to do to stop me from losing my happiness. I just want to help everybody. Well, only if you're a midlife woman, but I do want to help everybody. And it comes from knowing that a lot of women aren't happy in their lives. Think about what you can do. All right. And again, happiness, it can be to do with anything. My biggest fear about happiness is work related. All right. Yours might be, yours might not be. Right, so next question. Been there before. What have you done previously with a goal that you are determined won't happen again this year? It's deep, I know. My example would be in a previous life, I have had a goal of fat loss and I've hit it, and then I've put all the weight back on. So that's not happening this year at all, right? And have a think about what you can do to stop that from happening. So previously, I have been to Weight Watchers, Scottish Slimmers, cabbage soup diet. There was something to do with aloe vera, aloe cleanse or something. I can't actually remember what it was called, right? But the reason that I put all the weight back on was because I had the mindset of I just need to get to goal. I just need to get there. My life will start. Everything will be better when I get to this weight. Blah 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 blah. And then you get to that weight, and then you've got no after plan. So you're just like you just get a bit gallus and a bit arrogant and a bit complacent. Ah yeah, well I'm at my goal, and then you stop trying. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? So this will never happen to me again. Hasn't happened this time. It will never happen to me again. And the reason it won't ever happen to me again is because I had an after the diet plan. So again, have a think about that. This is time for you to be brutally honest with yourself. You can pick any goal you like, but have a think about what goal you've not hit before and why you haven't hit it. Or maybe you have hit it and then it went to shit after it. Have a think about that, all right? Right, the next lot of questions, the next two questions, sorry, are about you surrounding yourself with the right people. And the reason that I've put this in is because a lot of the time, our ability to set goals and to hit our goals is determined by our environment. And our environment is the people that we surround ourselves with. There is a saying, and I remember somebody saying this to me. Now, this was a good 15 years ago, right? A good 15 years ago, that if you want to be X, so just say they didn't actually use CrossFit because I wasn't CrossFitting at the time, right? But just say CrossFit, right? If you want to be a CrossFitter and you want to get better at CrossFit, you actually need to surround yourself with CrossFitters. And I don't just mean in the actual gym class, I mean outside as well. You need to inhale the kind of life that they are living. So yes, you need to turn up to the gym, absolutely 100%, but you need to think about these people and the habits that they have. Right now, bearing in mind, at the time I was drinking way too much alcohol and I was smoking, and my exercise was absolutely sporadic, right? But now my life is filled with CrossFitters in CrossFit and outside CrossFit. Now, the predominantly, and I can't think of anybody, right? None of them smoke, for example, right? And most of them either don't drink or have a good balance of alcohol and non-alcohol, right? And it's about their habits, and it's about their consistency, and it's about just the way that they live their life. Again, I'm giving you CrossFit as an example, but if you want to get fitter, surround yourself with fit people. If you want to give up alcohol, surround yourself with people that don't drink. Get yourself involved with a group of people that can go to a pub and not have alcohol. If you want to read more, if you just say you're not a great reader, if you want to read more, surround yourself with people that read, like in a book group. Yeah, so it's about surrounding yourself and creating an environment that is going to nurture and support you to get to where you want to be. You will never, ever, ever, ever change your body composition goals and get super, super strong if your social situation is in the pub every night drinking pints. With the best will in the world, it won't happen. So have a think about that. Have a think about who your biggest cheerleaders are, right? So cheerleaders are people that just people that will support you, people that will cheer you on, people that will tell you that you can do it. Me, obviously, if you're one of my clients, right? But again, and also have a think about the people that aren't, and think about whether they're not your cheerleaders out of badness. Like if they're constantly, if you've got somebody in your life that's constantly trying to bring you down and constantly telling you that you're never going to manage it, right? That's their issues. Or if they're not your cheerleader because they don't actually understand your goal. There's a massive difference there, right? A massive, massive difference. Huge difference. Huge. So have a think about whether that person in your life that isn't supporting you in the manner that you think you deserve supported, is it because they don't actually understand your goal? Because if that's the case, that's easily fixable. You just actually need to explain your goal to them and explain why you want to do it and explain how it's making you feel, etc. All right. But if they're just a negative ninny that is actually scared that you're going to leave them or they're going to get left behind, then you might need to have a serious chat about who's in your life, or a serious conversation with yourself about whether that person deserves a space in your life. All right. Again, the same kind of question, team community. Are you a member of a team or community that gives you unconditional support? If you're a member of Coach Caris, I would like to think that you do think that that is what is happening here. But again, if you're not, is there anybody or any team or community that you would like to get involved in? For example, maybe you want to run a half marathon this year, but you don't actually know where to start. Go and join a running group. It's things like that, right? One of my other fellow coaches had a goal in 2025 of reading 100 books. She didn't go and join a book group. She started up her own one. Again, that's something for you to think about. So if you need help with something, right, and you can't find anybody or any community to help, don't think that that's the end of the world. Have the fucking balls and go and start it up yourself. What's the worst that could happen? Right, next one, bucket list. 3 things you would like to complete in 2026. So have a think again. I know there's a lot of thinking, all right, but type it all down as well, write it all down about the things that you would like to complete in 2026. So one of the things that I want to do in 2026 is I want to learn to climb on a climbing wall. Something that I've quite fancied doing. It was actually something that I wrote down at the end of 2024 to do in 2025, and I haven't done it. But I really would actually like to do it. No idea if I'd be any good at it or not. Don't really care whether I'd be any good at it or not. I just want to try it. So your bucket list can be massive. right? It can be at least three things, but they can be massively huge goals or they can be little goals. So to me, trying a climbing wall, it's actually quite a little goal. I just need to get my finger out my arse, get it booked, and turn up and go. And then somebody will show me what to do and I'll give it a bash. End of. Dead, dead simple. All right. So three things for 2026, but also three things in the next 5 years. Now, it might be easier to answer the 5 year one. So, for example, just say in 5 years' time or within the next 5 years, you want to go to this super duper massively expensive place on holiday for a month. I can't think where. I can't think. Maybe you want to go and travel South America, for example, in the next 5 years, right? But you know you've done a budget for that, right? And the level of accommodation, etc., and travel, right? You know that you are going to need at least 20 grand. So one of your goals for 2026 within the next year could be to save half of that or a quarter of that. Yeah, so they can be connected, they can be totally not connected. In the next 5 years, I would like to go to India. I want to go and experience the food and the culture in the next 5 years. I've said that out loud. I've actually wanted to do that for quite a while, and I've never actually said that out loud. So there you go. All right. So that's one goal for me for 2026. I'm absolutely doing the climbing wall. I might do that as a ladies that lift, actually. Well, I do that as maybe we could do that as a wee client day out. Ladies that lift, the midlife reset, online coaching. Yeah, right. I'm not taking you to Nepal with me. So again, have a think, get them written down, all right? Chances are they'll come fast and furious. And if you need to go away and have a think about it, then have a think about it and you can tweak them. What is the word of the year? This is just a little bit of fun, all right? One that you will use to describe you or your pursuit of goals. My word is relentless. And the reason that I've picked that word is when I did my CrossFit level 2 qualification, which was not last April, but the April before, so April 2024, we had that whole course was pretty tough, right? And it was actually really hard, and I was totally out of my comfort zone. So it was all CrossFit coaches, some level 1 already, some level 2. And we got split up into groups and we had to work in those groups over the weekend. So we had to coach each other, right? So it was very coaching focused. And it was very critique and feedback and constructive criticism focused as well. So you had to coach one of your fellow coaches, and then everybody else in your group, there was a group, I think we had a group of 7, would give you feedback on your coaching skills, right? It was really, honestly, it was like absolute cringeworthy, right? But a word that a lot of the coaches used to describe me was relentless, because my standards were quite high and I wouldn't let any of my fellow coaches away with sketchy standards or sketchy reps. So relentless was a word that came up quite a lot. So I'm going to use that to describe the pursuit of my goals for 2026. I am going to be fucking relentless as far as my goals are concerned. Have a think, all right? Another couple of coaches that I know, one of them has chosen audacious, has chosen audacious as in her goals, and she's going to live her life audaciously. So she's going to be big and bold and confident. Audacious. I thought that was a brilliant word. Somebody else has used breathe. Was another one. That was one of the guys, actually. He has used the word breathe because he's done a lot of breath work and meditation over the last year, and he finds that it's helped him to set himself boundaries and to hit his goals, just to take that pause and to breathe. So that's his word. So it's relevant to you, relevant to your goals, you choose. And then finally, the last question, would you like help to achieve your goals in 2026? Right? Obviously, I want to help you meet your goals. Of course I do. And if you're one of my clients, you can tick the bottom box that says, I am a legend, as we are already working together. All the other options are about whether I can help you with coaching, right? I would love to be able to help you. You know that. I am a very helpful person. I like working with midlife women. And I believe that there's far too much lack of confidence as far as midlife women are concerned. So I want you to have think about whether I can help you with your goals, all right? But before I say cheerio, I want to say thank you, obviously, for joining me. I want you to pause and take a moment to acknowledge what you've just done. This is something, this goal setting, this goal review and this goal setting, right? This is something that 99% of people and 99% of midlife women will not do because they do not believe in themselves enough to review 2025 honestly and without guilt and to set some new goals in 2026. All right. So, congratulations. You have taken half an hour, 40 minutes, an hour, however long it's taken you. All right. You've reflected, you've taken responsibility, you've set your intentions for the year ahead. That alone puts you miles ahead of most people and miles ahead of where you maybe were this time last year. All right. 2026, I am not encouraging you to overhaul every single part of your life because that leads to overwhelm. But I am encouraging you just to take that small step and set yourself some realistic goals based on consistency, being realistic, self-trust, confidence, and self-belief. All right. Like I said, remember when you hit submit, this will get emailed back to you. All right. Goals don't work without support or structure or accountability. All right. A goal without a plan is just a dream. And we can all have dreams. But the difference between me and all my clients and people that don't have a coach is that they're never going to hit their goals. You need accountability. You need a plan and you need structure. You don't have to do this alone, my lovelies. All right. First of all, I'm very proud of you for showing up here today and even doing this. Kid you not, you are in the 1%. This is where your confidence comes from. All right. Thank you very much, my lovelies. Have a good day. Bye-bye.